Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Rotarians and visiting guests. We're so happy to have all of you today. We're the Rotary Club of Gainesville. Today is June 27th. Again, welcome. At this time, for guests and visiting Rotarians who are visiting us on Zoom, please identify yourself in the chat. And if you're watching on YouTube, please register your participation by sending an email to info@rotarygainesville.org. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn the podium over to Pete, who's going to sing with us for us.
Well, fellow Rotarians, today we celebrate National Coloring Book Day. I hope you have your coloring books on the table with you, but I must warn you that there's a new variant of the virus out called the Crayola virus, and you need to be very careful when you're using your coloring book, especially around children, because it's very contagious. Make sure that you're wearing your mask when you're coloring your book, and make sure that you are 6 feet away. With that, we are going to sing my Country 'Tis of Thee. My country 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. Join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
Thank you very much, Pete. And now we have Kevin Thorpe, who's going to share the invocation today via Zoom. Kevin?
May we pray. Lord, we are forever grateful for this day. Thank you for all that this day means. It is one that we have never seen before, and when it is past, we shall never see again. Thank you for this club. Thank you for this organization. We pray for every hurting and grieving family. We pray that you comfort those who are in the midst of sickness. We are excited about today's presentation. Allow us to learn and be blessed through your grace. It is for your sake and for your glory we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, Kevin. At this time, we would like to ask visiting Rotarians and guests to please remain standing. Otherwise, you may be seated. So we'll send the mic around and let everyone introduce.
Hey everybody, Brendan Shortley here, and I'm introducing JT, and JT's going to introduce his two friends. I've been instructed by the president. JT is a member of the Rotary Club of Los Angeles, LA5 as they call it. He is a special representative, special representative to the Republic of Myanmar, currently founder and CEO of Rotary Myanmar Villages Water Project, and a service above self, our annual recipient, and a 47-year Rotarian. Please welcome JT.
Thank you, Brendan. I couldn't improve on that introduction, except I'd love to have you believe I'm only 47 years old and I joined when I was 6 months old, but it would be a lie. So that said, it's a pleasure and an honor to be in Gainesville, and I'd like to welcome my actual second cousin, Mark Waring, whom many of you probably know. His dad, Dr. Bill Waring, is my first cousin and was the son of my father's younger brother. And with us also is an honorary Rotarian named Nalin Tut, who is from Myanmar, a country which you know has had a recent very ugly military coup d'etat, but he has been a major player for the last 5 years in a water project that we've had for villages down there. So thank you so much for welcoming us. And Brendan, thank you.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I'm Stacy Scott, and this is my guest, Bill Langston. He is also a Rotarian of the Chiefland Rotary Club and past president of that club. He is a Marine veteran, a law enforcement veteran, and a current chief investigator for our office in Levy and Gilchrist County. Bill Langston.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Mueller, and I am pleased to have my two amazing guests, Buffy Goff and Denise Rosenberg. And these amazing ladies are interested in our club, joining, and service projects. So please welcome them.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tom Collette here. I have three guests today. First, from Short Media Group, their marketing director, Blaine Trowell. Please welcome Blaine. As well as from My IT Masters, the long and short of it, the tallest employee and the shortest. He's actually the owner. We have Dave Herron and the owner, Boris Kachuk, today.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I have my son, Cecil Gracie, rising 8th grader, here today with me. Please welcome Cecil.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. I just wanted to introduce you to my guest. This is my son, Danny Waite, and he's here to enjoy the speaker today.
Well, again, welcome to all visiting Rotarians and their guests. We're so glad to have you here today. So it's the beginning of the month, and what we do is we celebrate all Rotarians with birthdays. I brought a birthday cake just to see how that goes on the first of the month, because I know some of you have mentioned you're missing dessert, me being one of them. So please help yourself to cake if you haven't already had some. So at this time, I'm going to read our birthday list for August, and I'm going to start with our own president, David Gracie, who had a birthday just this weekend on the 31st. Happy birthday, David. So yeah, if you have $1, our tradition is to throw $1 in the kitty, and we used to do half to Rotary and half to charity. So we'll see if we can get that going again. Come forward if you wish. Patrice Boyce, Carolyn Freeman, Bill Zagel, Doug Thompson, Frank Lozano, John Gregory, see you here, Randy Caton, Tammy Prince, Jason Shank. Get your wallet out, Jason. Stephanie Bales, Eric Jewell, Deborah Butler, and John Haswell. Happy birthday to all Rotarians. And at this time, we do have an announcement by a Rotarian. Helen Gilstrom, are you here with us today? Come on up.
Well, thank you, Jason. We're collecting money today. Okay. Thursday is National Underwear Day. So in honor of that, we are doing our annual drive. This is like the 4th one we've done for underwear for children. We give the underwear to the school board, and they get them out to the school nurses for whatever, for if you forgot your underwear day, for if you fell in a puddle, for if you had a mistake, whatever. So we have been very much appreciated by the school nurses for doing this year after year. So it's made a big difference. So it's very easy. I know you all, half of you confessed you haven't read the bulletin this week, so go back and look at that. There are hot links right in there. You just go straight to Target. You can go straight to Walmart. You can go straight to Amazon. There's a whole list there. Okay, and you can order it. If you order it that way, it's delivered directly to the school board. And that's, Kelly will love you, and she loves to get the mail and the deliveries. If you want to give cash through DAC, you can do that. There's a link. You can do that. You can visit me. I will sell you these for a mere $20. These are the hot ones today. These are going for $50. But bottom line, if you want to go out and shop, then please do that, and you can bring some in to us next week. So we hope that you help us all. And John Gregory, I'm so glad I saw you come in. I have a question for you. What type of underwear does Laura Croft wear? Come on, John. No. Fruit of the tomb.
So I move that any money collected today for birthdays goes to Helen. What do y'all think about that? We'll turn it all over there. Okay. So at this time, I'm going to turn our program without further ado to our president, David Gracie.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to see everyone. I love it when we have a crowd like this at the Cade, our beautiful setting here, and it's great to still be connected with everyone via Zoom also. I see a lot of folks today that I haven't seen in a little while, and that's refreshing to me. Anne Marie Rogers, it's great to see you. Terry Van Nortwick, back from her global travels, great to see you, and a lot of other folks. I'm kind of focused on things, so I haven't gotten to shake everyone's hand yet, but hopefully I'll get to greet you maybe after the meeting. I'm going to try to leave as much time as I can for our guest speaker today, my friend Chris Doering. But before I do that, I've got just a recognition I need to make. There are a lot of folks who helped me a great deal. Melanie, Eric, Jeff, Wesley, Matthew. But there's folks that are doing a lot of club service and helping the club that kind of fly under the radar. And I saw you walk in here, Ryan Thompson. Where are you? There he is, way over there. Yeah, come on up here, Ryan, if you would. I've got, I want to try to maybe remind everyone, our first meeting of the year, I kind of embraced our Rotary theme, which is serve to change lives. And this is a kind of a notion that's hard to communicate without watering down this beautiful theme, but serve to change lives does not necessarily mean that you're doing the stuff that the truly 1%er Rotarians do, like Richard Allen over in Sustainable Cambodia, helping villages of people. It can be working with Rotary Rebuild right here in Gainesville, or just accepting a call from myself to step up and chair a committee like Paul Harris Fellows, also chairing the Rotary Rebuild, and I think Rotaract also. This is somebody that does a lot for the club, and club service is an area of service that maybe isn't always noted. And so I've got, Ryan, I've got a coin here for you. This is the Serve to Change Lives coin. So thank you. And I enjoyed having lunch with you last week. Ryan carefully told me, he probably doesn't want me to say this, but he was recently promoted to senior project manager over at CHW Planning Consultants, right? Or is that close? Oh, thank you for everything you do. Okay, and now I am going to ask my good friend, Eric Godet, to come and introduce our wonderful program today.
Good afternoon. Well, I can tell you we're all excited. And for me, there's nothing better than one of our own being here to present to us. So I'll just give you a little brief info on Chris. Chris Doering is a lifelong Gator, having grown up in Gainesville, Florida, as the son of a university professor. Chris was a standout scholar and exceptional athlete at Gainesville's P.K. Young's Developmental Research School. He graduated in the top 10% of his class and earned all state honors in football, basketball, and baseball. When his Blue Wave basketball team captured the state title, he was awarded the MVP of the Class 2A basketball tournament. To top off his glory of his high school days, Chris achieved his lifelong dream of playing football for the Florida Gators. He started off as a walk-on player for Steve Spurrier in 1991, and with hard work and perseverance, not only earned a scholarship, but went on to achieve one of the finest careers in the history of the University of Florida and the Southeastern Conference. Chris set a single season SEC record, completing 17 touchdown catches during the 1995 season. He made a name for himself, ending his collegiate career with 31 touchdown catches, a record that until recently remained the most in Florida and in SEC history. It was a sad day, but then we also rejoiced, Chris. We were there with you. Doering was a second-team All-American, a first-team All-SEC choice, and in 1995 received the Doug Belden Award, given to the most outstanding male student athlete, scholar, and in the graduating class. He helped lead the team to SEC championships in 1993, 1994, and 1995. Following his career, his collegiate career, Chris was initially drafted by the Jacksonville Jaguars and went on to play for 5 other teams during his 10-year NFL career, including the Washington Redskins, where he was reunited with Coach Steve Spurrier and several former Gator players. Doering's professional career wrapped up with 42 receptions for 476 yards and 3 touchdowns. Following his retirement from the NFL in 2005, Doering returned to his hometown in Gainesville and established the Chris Doering Mortgage in 2007. In addition to owning and operating the mortgage company, Chris is very active throughout the Gainesville community. Working with many local charitable organizations, Doering is also utilizing his degree in telecommunications from the University of Florida and his role as a college football analyst for the SEC Network. Also as co-host of SEC Now and SEC Football Final, SEC This Morning, and various broadcasts of SEC football. Although an impressive and athletic professional career with many accolades, Chris says his most important accomplishment is his children. His daughter, Taylor, currently is attending UF, and his son, Tyson, is a senior at his alma mater, his high school at PK Young. Please give a big Gator Rotary welcome to Chris Doering.
All right. Thank you guys very much for having me today. That was quite an overwhelming introduction from Eric and a lot of things that I'm proud of on there, but none that I'm more proud of than the part that he mentioned about being a Gainesville boy and walking in here today, seeing so many faces of friends that I grew up with and people that I've known from this community really means a lot to me. You know, as David mentioned, David and I were friends since we were little, and was actually had a chance to talk to his son a little bit about what a good football player David was back in the day. And Cecil mentioned to me that he's playing football at Oak Hall, and I said there's a little bit of a expectation when you play football in Gainesville. It didn't used to always be that way, but being a Gainesville football player now comes with a little bit more pressure than it once did. And I can tell you, back in 1999, I was playing for the Denver Broncos, and when I went to PK Young, by the way, we just celebrated our 30-year high school reunion this past weekend. But we had 92 people in our graduating class at PK. And in 1999 in the NFL, we had 5 people from PK Young playing at the same time. You know, to think about tiny PK Young, 2A school with 5 active players in the NFL was something that I was really, really excited about, and being able to represent my high school in this community. So it is a pleasure to be here with you guys. In addition to what Eric was talking about with the SEC Network stuff that I do and the SiriusXM broadcasting, like many of you, I am a business owner in this community, and I take great pride in that. It's hard to believe that our mortgage company next year will have been open for 15 years. I remember back, you mentioned 2007, 2008. You guys remember what the economy was like at that point in time, the housing market and the mortgage industry specifically. It was a tough time, but I like so many other people that play in the NFL, I don't think we appreciate just how great it is at the time. It's almost one of those things where we've always played football as part of our lives. You don't have anything to really compare it to. And I remember one of my final years in the NFL, I was playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I was never one of those guys that had the opportunity to feel secure about his roster spot when we went to training camp. And back then, training camp was much different. No offense, Cecil, but, you know, we had 2-a-days. You know, it was much more of a grind that we went through than what the players today go through. And it was always stressful as if I was going to make the team or not, and stressful, just physically going through what we did every year. And so this is the fourth quarter of probably the third preseason game. And by that time, most of the guys my age that are veterans are on the sidelines with their jerseys off. I'm still out there trying to make the team. On special teams, I'm on the kickoff return on the front line. And my assignment is to block L5. So I count from the outside in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, it's like a 6'4", 245-pound dude that runs about a 4'6" and loves contact. And so I drop back, and I'm thinking, I remember as the ball is about to be kicked off, man, there's got to be something better that I could be doing, something that's less stressful that I could be, back at home in Gainesville enjoying. And right then the ball gets kicked off. I retreat into my setup, trying not to look at him because you don't want to look at him too much because they know you're blocking him. And as soon as I looked at him, made eye contact, he realized that I was the little skinny dude that was going to try to block him. So he accelerated right through my face. And I remember my head ringing and my vision being blurry. And at that point in time, it really solidified the fact that there was something at home that probably had to be a better life than going through the stress that I was going through there. Well, fast forward to probably 2008, and we're going through what we were going through with the mortgage world and how difficult things were and trying to make $1 and just keep the business open. And at that point in time, I remember thinking, man, I would give anything to go back and have that guy running through my face again. So it was a great lesson about being appreciative of the things we have at the time. And, I really do take a lot of pride in my career at Florida and even in the NFL. Over a 10-year period of time, I got cut 10 times. I got cut probably any number of ways. I got cut on a day off. I got cut after practice, which they could have at least cut me before practice so I didn't have to go. I got, every possible way you could get released, I went through it. But, all of those things taught me a great level of perseverance. And I don't know how many of you guys heard recently, but we just started an award that I'm help getting off the ground with the Football Writers Association of America in Coach Spurrier's name. And it is the Steve Spurrier First Year Coach Award. And Coach takes great pride in that because not only at Florida did he come in 1990 and win the SEC championship, which they took it away from us, but at Duke, he had a tremendous first season. At South Carolina, he actually won the First Year Coach Award. And, now it's being named in his honor. And Chris Doering Mortgage, a little company here in Gainesville, has the opportunity to be the presenting sponsor of this national award. So I'm very excited about what we can do to honor Coach. And he talked a little bit about, what it means to him to have that award in his name, because there's a lot of coaches that say, I got to come in, I got to recruit for 3 or 4 years and bring my own guys in, and then you judge me how I do then. Coach didn't believe that. Coach believed that he could inherit players that were brought there by other coaches and be able to turn them into winners, which he did at all 3 spots. And I think the thing that I talk about a lot that I learned from him was that perseverance aspect, that believing in myself, that believing in one another, believing that my teammate next to me is going to do his job, and then I'm going to do my job, and then we're going to have more success than we could individually, and we're going to have more success than we ever thought was possible as a team. And my career was never one that was on a direct path. As a PK Young graduate, as Eric mentioned, I had a ton of accolades and set records and did things that I thought was going to get me a scholarship to Florida. That scholarship didn't come initially. I had to walk on. And I can tell you, it was right before my sophomore season, my second year at Florida, or heading into my third year at Florida. We get done with practice or morning practice. See, so we had 2 days again, morning practice. And then he calls everybody together and he's giving the announcements. And at that point in time, he made the announcement that he was putting me on scholarship. And I remember the excitement from my teammates. I think my teammates may have been more excited for me than I was for myself, because they knew how hard I worked and they knew what it meant to me to be put on scholarship. In fact, I always kind of lamented the fact that I wasn't maybe it was my own mind, but I didn't feel like I was as worthy as some of the other guys that had been given scholarships out of high school. And I remember the Gainesville Sun was writing a preview in 1992 of the wide receiving corps, and they'd go down and list different, qualifications about each player. And they listed Chris Doering, and they said lanky walk-on. And that always kind of stuck with me. I wanted to I wanted to get that walk-on moniker off of me. And so when they gave me that scholarship, I ran upstairs and signed it before they could change their minds. It meant so much to me. And I think in hindsight, it was better that I had to go earn it at the college level as opposed to being given it out of high school. People that are these blue chip can't miss prospects sometimes do miss. And I think a lot of it has to do with complacency, being told how great they are, maybe not having to compete as much. And, one of the things that I got to the point where later on in my career at Florida, it was no longer lanky walk-on, it was former walk-on. So I could never actually get the walk-on out of there. But I think in hindsight, that was something that I identify with now. And I take great pride in not only being able to earn that scholarship, but to leave having caught more touchdowns. For 25 years, I held that record. And you guys may have seen me on TV acting like I was, very gracious. Inside, I didn't have quite the gratitude, but it was fun to watch as he was able to break that record this year. And Devontae Smith is an amazing player, an amazing person. So I'm very happy for him, and to have had that record for 25 years means a lot to me, especially as a walk-on. But I just go back to so many of those lessons that Coach Spurrier taught me, and how that has served me well in my post-playing days. The perseverance it took to get the mortgage company off the ground and to continue to survive during that tough market. I didn't initially get an opportunity at the SEC Network, even though I was supposed to, in my mind, fold into their launch initially, and they didn't include me in that the first year. I had to earn. I went in before the second year of the SEC Network and had an audition that went really well and got that gig that I have now. So it's never a direct path, but in the end, I think every instance the path has been more gratifying because of the adversity that I've had to fight through. So so many of you guys have an opportunity to watch us on the SEC Network. I feel blessed to do what I do. I just came back from SEC Media Days 2 weeks ago in Hoover, Alabama. And a lot of you guys know that was not able to be held last year because of the pandemic. And people ask, well, what was your biggest takeaway from Media Days? For me, it was just the opportunity to get together with people again, and how many folks enjoyed actually being there. Coaches that typically wouldn't be happy about having to go up and answer questions were excited to be there again. Reconnecting with some of our fellow media members was awesome. I was sitting Sunday night a couple weeks ago there in Hoover with Jordan Rogers and Cole Kublik and Peter Burns and all these guys that I work with. And I was just in that moment overwhelmed with gratitude of what I get to do, this job that I have, working with the SEC, this conference that I love so much, and working with these great people. We were talking over at our table over lunch about the chemistry that Dari and I and Coach Chiswick have. And it really is like stealing for me. I get to watch football with some of my best friends on Saturday, and then we get to go on air and talk about it a little bit. I think one of the hardest things about playing football at a high level, there's not too many feelings like catching a touchdown in front of 90,000 people and having that whole crowd go crazy for you. So I as a kid, I wanted to play football for the Gators and play in the NFL. And I had done both of those things, and it was over with by the time I was 32 years old. So there's a lot of life to kind of figure out what you're going to do next and where you find your passion. And fortunately for me, being in the broadcasting world and doing the TV and radio that I get to do brings me that same sort of excitement, because there's a lot of the same similarities that go into it. There's a lot of teamwork. There's the game planning as we work during the week and getting ready for our shows on Friday and Saturday. There's the camaraderie of working together and figuring out a way to put the best product on the air. And I can tell you what, there's nothing short of catching that touchdown in front of 90,000. There's nothing better than going on live television and the adrenaline rush you get knowing that there's really no net in case you mess up, and the pressure that goes along with that. So we're in the studio. People ask, like, what's the studio like on Saturdays? We get in there about noon. We have a triple header on the SEC Network that starts at noon. We do the halftime of the noon game. We do the post game. We do the lead up to the next game, halftime, post game, and then the lead up to the 7 o'clock game or 7:30 game where we do the halftime. And then after that, we do a wrap of all the games of the day. And, we're on the air we're on set from noon until probably 12:30 in the morning. And I can tell you, when we get off the air after that live show, man, there's so much adrenaline going through your body that you can't go to sleep. we'll go grab a couple beers and try to decompress afterwards as a group. But I'm up in my room, until 3:30 in the morning, just trying to settle down and get that adrenaline out of me. And it's a lot of fun. Our show on the SEC network is the most watched show there is. SEC fans talk all the time about how much they love our show because it's really just about the 14, soon to be 16 teams in the conference and longer highlights and more in-depth discussion about the teams that they want to hear about. I have people ask me all the time, well, don't you want to move up and do bigger things on ESPN? And the competitive side of me wants to do that. But really for me, I get to cover this conference that I grew up a fan of. I sat in section 6, row 9, seat 28, 29, 30 with my parents as a little kid. I got a chance to cross that velvet rope and play on the field with some of these great players. And now covering the conference means so much to me. So I get a chance to do that not only on the television, but on the Sirius XM SEC channel. I actually just got off the show this morning. We do year-round sports talk there from 8 to 11 and really enjoy getting to do that. But my alignment with the SEC means so much to me, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to do that and to find that next thing that I'm passionate about in my life. And so I feel like I'm the Jamaican with 9 jobs from the Living Colors skit back in the day. I got the mortgage company, I got the radio show, I got the television, all of which are very different, but all of which are providing with a lot of great opportunities to team up. My group at the mortgage company, I put it together just like I would, having played a part of my football teams at Florida in the NFL. You surround yourself with great people. You have like-minded shared goals, and you work as hard as you can to achieve those goals on a daily basis. And so for me, really blessed to have a long-standing team that's shown unbelievable commitment to me there. And I tell everybody when folks come in, well, what's the difference of working with your mortgage company versus somebody online? To me, it's the local accountability. And I know that that's what this group is about. It's about creating relationships here. If we have issues, people can come in and deal with us face to face. I know that there is a certain segment of the population that enjoys working remotely and doing stuff over the internet. But for us, we find that there's a lot more fulfillment in holding somebody's hand as they walk through a very intimidating time and a stressful process, which we all know financing can be these days. So it really is a pleasure to be a part of this local Gainesville community as a business owner, as a lifelong resident, and somebody that takes great pride in being a Gainesvillian. So I know Melanie told me she was going to keep me tight on time. I'm gonna open up for questions, I guess, if there's some things that I can answer. Would love to address.
Hey, Chris. Hello.
Uh-oh. I can hear you.
Okay. And by the way, section 6, row 9.
My father was a professor in the College of Pharmacy, so as one of the staff members there, we got those tickets and held on to them for a long time.
Yeah, lucky. I also enjoyed you on 2 levels. I'm a lifetime Steelers fan, so since birth, enjoyed watching you do that.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, I'm sure somebody would ask you eventually, your maybe less formal response and opinion on the name, image, and likeness that's sweeping through.
Yeah, what an amazing time it is for college athletics in general, and specifically college football. We're talking about players now having the opportunity to make money off of their name, image, and likeness, appearances, endorsements, social media posts. That we got the immediate transfer rule that just happened. Now you can transfer anywhere and play right away. So it's almost like glorified free agency. And then now we got Texas and Oklahoma jumping from the Big 12 here to the SEC. And by the way, I don't think it'll be July 1st of 2025 when that happens. I'm sure that'll happen much sooner. But there's an amazing shift that's taking place. And so I think it's scary to me in a way, because I don't want to lose the tradition. I don't want to lose what college football has always meant. There's also a side of me that can appreciate. I think as a Gainesville guy that was doing some of the things that I was able to do, I would have profited pretty well on some of the endorsement opportunities at that point. But it's a touchy subject that I can see both sides of. And I know there's been a lot of players in the past that have complained about the fact oh, we don't get paid. All of these other guys are making money off of our work and we're not able to do that. I look at it a little differently because of my history as a walk-on, because of a guy that had to earn that scholarship. I know what the value of the scholarship meant to me in getting my education. I also know that I wouldn't have a mortgage company here in Gainesville. I wouldn't be on the SEC network. I wouldn't be on Sirius XM if it wasn't for that degree and the opportunity to go to graduate with a telecommunication degree from the College of Journalism, to have played and gotten the visibility that I did playing for the Gators. All of those things came along with that scholarship. So while it was not an immediate paycheck, it's been one that I've made far more money with in my post-playing days than I did with the NFL. So I am, I don't know how this is going to shake out. I think at the end of the day, I think it's going to be less impactful than maybe what we thought it was going to be. I think you'll see some of the big quarterbacks, Alabama being one with Bryce Young, making reportedly a 7-digit endorsement deals that he has. There's a kid that just reclassified from Texas high school that is going to Ohio State. So he's skipping his senior year of high school to get to Ohio State where he can make some money, because in Texas they said high school players can't utilize their name, image, and likeness. So we're talking about a kid that potentially can make over $1 million, skipping his senior year of high school to go and make some of that money with the NIL rule that now exists in the NCAA, which to me, it's I understand it, but it's sad. Everybody, I think, is in such a hurry to get to that next station. Well, I got to hurry and get here. Like, people don't even enjoy college football, this experience of playing college football, because they're so worried about getting to the NFL. Now we're doing it where they're not enjoying their senior year of high school. My senior year of high school was the best. As Eric mentioned, we won the state basketball championship, going to prom, going to grad night. Those are things that are part of the maturation process. And I hate that those things are maybe being put on the back burner in the pursuit of trying to make more money.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Greg Young.
Yes, sir.
Hey, thinking.
By the way, Greg Young was one of my first trainers. He and I worked together when I was in the NFL. He was my personal trainer, and we were grinding in a less than glorious gym back off of 34th Street there back in the day. But he's been a longtime friend and a guy that certainly helped my career. So thank you, Greg.
Thank you for saying that, Chris. I appreciate that. So my question harkens back to the 90s. So I seem to recall there was a game at Kentucky where a guy named Chris Doering caught a ball at the end of the game that turned that game around.
Yeah.
Now, if my memory serves me correctly, Danny Warfel and Terry Dean threw a combined 7 picks in that game, and we set a record because we still won a Division I college football game. Does that record still stand?
I think it still stands. I mean, yeah, 7 interceptions. Those guys were being flip-flopped back and forth. It was an unlikely win for the Gators that night. And one of the things I take the most pride in is Coach Spurrier oftentimes refers to that night in Lexington as the point where the program turned the corner. Because I can remember as a kid, the MO was always wait till next year. There was always that disappointing loss to Georgia. There was always the game that Florida stubbed their toe that prevented them from winning the SEC championship. And that was the night where things probably didn't deserve to go our way, but we found a way to persevere and found a way to get that victory. And it's just amazing how quickly my life changed overnight. You know, I'm walking around campus the next Monday and people are talking to me and paying attention to me that they never would have otherwise known who I was. So it was an important night in Florida football history, and certainly an important night in my personal trajectory of my life changing. So
can I follow up real quickly on that? So could you tell us a little bit about how the play developed, and then also what is your remembrance of that night?
Yeah. So let's go back to what we talked about a second ago. Was, you know, I got put on scholarship just a couple weeks before that. So I went from being a walk-on, now I'm on scholarship. The first game of the season, I think I catch 4 passes in a game against an overmatched opponent in the Swamp. And then we go to Lexington on September 11th, 1993. And Coach Spurrier tells me before the game that I'm going to start. So here I am. I'm thinking, wow, this is everything I could have ever dreamt of. I actually caught my first collegiate touchdown early in the 4th quarter. So to me, that's the pinnacle of what I ever dreamed about. I'm playing for the Gators. I'm starting. I catch a touchdown against an SEC opponent, and little did I know that I'd have a chance to catch the game winner with 3 seconds left that would change my life. But we actually, you know, it was funny because we drove down the field. We got to the 28-yard line, And we called that same play, the play before. It was Steamers Y7. So it's like 4 verticals with the slot guy, the tight end where I was, running a read where if it's single high safety, I stay on the seam. If it's cover 2, then I'm running a little cover 2 post. They played 2-man, and I got held at the line of scrimmage, still got off a little bit, but Danny threw it. I almost made an amazing one-handed catch, but it would have been down at about the 10-yard line and time would have expired. So thankfully, I didn't catch it. We came back and ran the same play. And if you go back and watch the video, Coach Berger told Danny to pump to Jack Jackson, who was out on the wide right of me. And when he pumps, the safety just kind of splits. I got a cleaner release in the slot and was able to beat my guy. Danny threw that ball. You're supposed to hit the cover 2 post about 18 to 22 yards over the field, over the middle of the field. I caught it about 2 yards deep in the end zone. So it was about 30 yards that he threw the ball. And I go back and watch the video now, and it just seems like the ball hangs in the air forever. It makes me stressed out watching it, as if, you know, I'm going to drop it or it's going to get broken up 30 years later, or 25 years later, whatever it is. But yeah, we were able to hit that pass. And I remember, you know, being swarmed by our teammates and being on the bottom of some big dudes in a pile. And maybe the most funny thing to me was getting on the plane afterwards. I was sitting with Danny Warfel and Judd Davis, who was our kicker. And that was back then when they had the phones. You remember they had the phones in the back of the headrest on the seats. And so we used Judd's dad's credit card to call people back home and kind of celebrate a little bit. But Cecil probably knows nothing about the phones on the plane. They don't have those anymore. But that was the memory of that night. And again, a night that definitely changed the trajectory of my career and my life in general.
Chris, Pete Enwell with a question of current events.
Okay.
Just before I say that, I'll have to join with your recollection of that. That was what turned the attitude of Gainesville around. And so if anybody writes a history of Gainesville and a history of the Florida Gators, that's the point where we started.
That's awesome. Well, let me say this real quick before you ask your question. So I get a chance to come to groups or speak in front of Gator fans, and inevitably everybody comes up. Somebody at least will come up to me and tell you, I can tell you exactly where I was that night when you caught that pass against Kentucky. And if you think about your life, there's probably a handful of events that you can remember exactly what you were doing, where you were when it occurred. And most of the time it's a negative thing. It's a space shuttle blowing up. It's a assassination of a president. It's those types of things. But for me, to be able to have a memory that's that positive, that people recall with such clarity and that I'm involved in, is something that I'm very honored by and grateful for. And so it's always fun. The people that come up to me now are getting older and older because, you know, there's not a whole lot of young people that remember that night in 1993, but really fun to still recall some of those moments with people that want to share them with me. So go ahead.
My question is pretty mundane compared to that, but it looks like Texas and Oklahoma are going to come into the league. And I'm interested in your thoughts on how that's going to change the league, because we'll have to play more teams and things like that.
Yeah, it does scare me again, going back to the tradition. I'm a guy that is adverse to change. I should probably be a little more flexible and welcoming of change. But I think what you saw from Commissioner Sankey and from Texas and Oklahoma is understanding that there is a major shift in the landscape that's taking place. And if you want to survive, you're going to have to do things differently than we ever did before. The NCAA is going to be changing their involvement with sports. I imagine that the Power Five, the bigger schools, are going to be breaking away from the NCAA at some point in time. I think you're going to see the beginning of, you know, some power conferences where you're looking at 16 to 20 teams in 4 conferences perhaps. And so it's the move that was inevitably going to happen. You're talking about 2 blue blood programs in college football linking up with the best athletic conference in the entire country. So I think it was inevitable, but what you're seeing is just the beginning as more of that is going to continue to happen.
Hi, Chris.
Tom, how are you?
Tom Collette here. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
We had Mark Whittemore here a couple weeks ago. Didn't have a chance to ask him this question. I'll ask you.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned high school football in this area. Rank the top 5 wide receivers to come out of Gainesville area high schools.
See, that's a tough one because, you know, some of those PK Young guys I mentioned, Willie Jackson was one of them. Robert Baker was another one. You mentioned Mark Whittemore. Those guys, I'm very humbled to be a part of that tradition from this area. And there was a time that people didn't pay attention to Gainesville high school football players, and it was difficult. Even Willie Jackson, who kind of started things off in that era, getting the scholarship from PK to the University of Florida, was a guy that signed late, even though his father was one of the first African-American players to ever play at Florida, great player in his own right, and didn't have that same opportunity. But I think because of what we were all able to do, I think there's a lot more people that look at the competition here locally as being some of the best around, and I'm very proud. I believe I just heard this that Mark's son Creed just got an offer from Florida, which is awesome. He's a tremendous kid, and very excited for him. I'm actually helping out over at PK Young, coaching my sons. Helped them in the spring and the summer. And one of our guys just got an offer, a guy by the name of Jaron, that is going to be a great player. And so he just got an offer from Florida as well. So I love the fact that Coach Mullen is investing in the local talent right out of his own backyard.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
My name is Jacob. I'm both from Michigan State and I'm a Gator.
Nice.
So I would say go Gators.
Go Gators.
But I grew up in Africa as a refugee kid. So I came here and they told me, do you know how to play football? And I said, of course. And unfortunately, it was not the football.
The wrong one, right?
I broke my collarbone. So the rest of the story, I went and played soccer in college. But a few question is, it looked like you have planned the academic route, which lead to business route, and most athletes, despite of their race and color, everybody wants to just get to that final NFL and get the money.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, what happened when you get hurt? So how do you have a balance of academic, athletic for the future? That's number one question.
Mm-hmm.
Number two question is the sense of sport in general. I'm proud South Sudanese, despite of the challenges has gone on. I don't know if you guys are watching Olympic, but one of the first South Sudanese American, her name is Athieng Mo, just won 800 for the American after 50 years. So I'm both proud of her, but this sense of sport is not just American, it's bringing international and hope.
Yeah.
So what's your comment with such a type of, it's no longer American sport, it's now the world is.
Yeah, it's a great question. Two great questions. First and foremost, I'm very blessed to have had parents that held me accountable in the classroom and taught me the importance of getting good grades. I've dealt right now with my kids and trying to get them to stay focused. It's a challenge, but I was always taking honors in AP classes. I felt like I took pride in being a diverse person as a very good athlete, but also a very good student in the classroom too. And so that it served me well. As Eric mentioned, that's one of the other accolades I'm very proud of. Is I won the Doug Belden Award my senior year at Florida, which was the most outstanding male student athlete. And so that's something I have up on the wall at the house and take great pride in. I think the other thing is that I've been very fortunate to be able to be exposed to a lot of different people where, I've been able to make a good impression that has allowed me to have opportunities that I would have otherwise made, and I think that is something that I try to instill in my kids, especially my son, who's a little more shy, is taking the time to speak to people and taking the time to ask questions about what other people do and learn more about life than what you think your plan is. And I think we all wanted to play in the NFL. There's only a very few people that play high school football that'll ever get that opportunity. And even if you get to the NFL, the average lifespan, I think, is 3.7 years. So we're talking about a very short amount of time. Most people aren't going to make that big check where you're never going to have to work again. In fact, my dad reminded me, I told him as a kid, I said, man, my dad, one of the hardest workers I know, would leave the house before 8 and wouldn't come home until after 5:30. And every time he did, he would throw the football with me or throw the baseball to me. He always took time to do that. But I told my dad, I'm never having a 9-to-5 job, man. You're a sucker for that, And so I after my NFL career, I find myself, I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I have like more like an 8 to 7 job where I'm doing radio in the morning and then I'm at the mortgage company all night. But I do take great pride in how hard I've worked in the classroom and what that's done to be able to set me up in my football playing and also the post playing stuff. Now, in terms of sport, we were talking about this over lunch earlier. I was at media days. I had a chance to go out for Father's Day, took the kids to a Yankees game. And that night we went to Madison Square Garden where the Foo Fighters were reopening up Madison Square Garden. And the energy in that place, man, there's this pent up desire to be together. The community aspect that you got at the concert is the same that you get in sports. And we were talking about season ticket sales and how much they've jumped up with people's desire to get back out, and the tailgating and what that means to us, and Gator football, what that represents for this community. I really do think there is a sense of belonging that goes along with college football, with SEC football, with the University of Florida football. And I love sports. I'd say it all the time. Team sports is a great vehicle for teaching kids about life, whether you're playing in the NFL or college or whatever. Having kids play team sports is tremendous because what it teaches you about goal setting, about perseverance, about getting knocked down and getting back up again, about cooperation that it takes to be successful. So I'm so glad to have the opportunity to hopefully be back out there with 90,000 in the swamp on Saturdays. And I look forward to getting a chance to be back in a little more normal lifestyle here in the fall. So thank you guys. I know it's time to go, right? So
We're right at the bell, Chris, but I've got one more question
Okay.
before I close this up. This has been great. You've kept this at a nice 30,000 foot level for everyone to enjoy, but I've got more of a football analyst granular question. Your colleague Dari Noka and I were chatting over a beer a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about Kyle Trask and what a talent he is. And he said, it was really Chris that described Kyle's play the best, or I don't know. He said what Chris said is that Kyle throws one of these balls that you just want to go up and catch. What about Emory Jones? What kind of QB is he going to be for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that everybody is forgetting about is this may be a new starting quarterback, but this is not a guy that's a freshman. He's done the things exactly opposite of what most highly recruited quarterbacks do. Nowadays, if you don't win the job right away, you're in the transfer portal, you're going somewhere else. Well, Emory Jones stayed around. He's been coached by Coach Mullen and Brian Johnson and those guys. He's been developed. He's had an opportunity to be inserted into important games in Baton Rouge. You know, I look at that 2019 Auburn game when Kyle Trask got hurt. He came off the bench, completed a couple big third down passes over the middle as a guy that kind of changed the momentum in that game by a couple of scoring drives being set up with Kyle out. So I think I'm cheering hard for him. There's another guy by the name of Anthony Richardson, who's a Gainesville boy that went to East Side, who I'm excited about the competition that those guys will have. But I think Emory's ready to go. You're going to see a much more traditional Dan Mullen offense with the quarterback running a lot more than what you did with Kyle Trask. But I feel good about that. You know, the biggest question I have before I let you go about Florida, can they be better on the defensive line? To me, that was the big issue last year. The secondary is where it manifested in passing yards given up. But because they didn't have the dudes up front on the defensive line that we've always had, where you can penetrate, disrupt the run game, you can get pressure on the quarterback rushing for. And so Florida's got to find a way to get better on the defensive line. They got 2 transfers, one from Auburn, one from Penn State, that should help out. But that's the thing that I'm looking at the most this year. I think we'll be great. We'll be fine at quarterback. Can we be better on the defensive line specifically? Appreciate you guys for having me. Thanks so much.
Chris, thank you. I count it as a favor to our club that you did this. I know how busy you are. You guys realize he's about to get really busy here in about a week. He's got a couple of kids right at that age where he's still doing a lot of parenting, and he's running a mortgage company. For him to set aside some time to prepare and to deliver this presentation, it's awesome. We appreciate it, Chris. And I also count you as a good friend. So I appreciate that. Chris, something that we're kind of proud about with Rotary International is the way we conduct ourselves. We hold ourselves to a moral code, if you will. It's something called the four-way test. And I've got a coin here to give you that's going to kind of commemorate your talk. And the four-way test is something that we run by anything we think, say, or do. We ask, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? So we've got a coin here for you. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, everybody. Once again, it's great to see everyone here, and have a good week. Look forward to seeing you next Tuesday, if not sooner.